great to see all of you today. I'm really excited about this because we've been talking about these bills for a long time, and now we're about to get to meet with our legislators and tell them just what Elizabeth said, why we're so passionate about this. So Jocelyn and I are going to run through how you should think about preparing for those meetings, and then actually role play how the meetings will go so that you can feel prepared going into these. There's something I want to highlight about this that Elizabeth talked about at the beginning of the meeting. She talked about the fact that we are here to build power and we are here to shift power in the State House. You know, there's a question because we know, all of you who've been in our organizing trainings, you know, there's two sources of power. There's organized money and there's organized people. We are here as the organized people. And you better believe the bail bondsmen are pouring money into the pockets of the legislators right now, as soon as those bills were introduced, and they're trying to counteract our people power. And so when we go into meetings with legislators, this is our chance to start to shift the power and demonstrate to these legislators how much influence we have and how important it is for them to listen to us and not to listen to our counterparts. And so when you go into this meeting, it's not just that you want to get your legislator to say yes to supporting the bill, which is extremely important, but it's also that you want to demonstrate that you are representing a powerful group of people, that this is an entity that they're going to have to contend with from here on out. And there's some really key ways that you can do this. So first of all, your mentality heading into this meeting should be, I'm going to build a relationship of mutual respect with this legislator. I'm not begging for something. They're not doing me a favor. This is a relationship of respect. I respect them because they're an elected official who's carrying out our governmental duties, and they should respect me because I represent a constituency of Ohioans who they are responsible to. So if we truly have a power relationship, it should be one of mutual respect. And one of the ways that you can kind of convey that power is by using what we call a power credential. So this is when you go in and you set up, you know, how many people do you represent? What is the scope of your organization? What are some past victories that you've won? So that they don't just see, you know, Greer standing in front of them, but they see 2,000 action team members represented by the people in the room. If I was a member of the Cuyahoga County team, I would be using the electronic monitoring victory in my power credential. So I would say something like, I'm Greer Ashbury and I'm representing the ACLU of Ohio action team, which has 2,000 active members who are passionate about bail reform. And in Cuyahoga County this year, with 1,000 supporters taking action, we won a commitment from Administrative Judge Sheehan to waive electronic monitoring fees. We did that because we're committed to making pretrial practices locally and statewide fair and equitable. And we're here today to talk to you about that. So you'd weave in a victory, you'd weave in those numbers, and you do it with a really assertive tone so they understand you're a power person, right? So you got to live into that mentality, first of all. Second of all, and extremely important, is to have clear roles developed within your team. So you'll probably have a small group, maybe 3 or 4 people going on your meetings, and you want to make sure everybody knows what their job is. So in your packet, you'll see a list of all the roles and kind of a description, and you'll see some of those roles in our role play. But some of the most important ones are, one, a spokesperson. That's the person in charge of leading the meeting. They're the one that they're going to open, close, redirect, make sure that the questions get answered and you stay on task. Also very important, especially because these meetings are quick and tough to follow. You want a note taker to be clear on what commitments you got, and you want a timekeeper who can help you make sure you get your commitments before you walk out of the room. You also want to have prep meetings and debrief meetings. We've included some sample agendas for those in your packets as well, but you should plan to have a full, at least an hour prep session, maybe a few days before your meeting with your whole team to get clear on your agenda, your roles, what you're expecting. And then you should meet about 30 minutes the day of, right before your meeting, to kind of run through, make sure everything's fresh in everybody's head, and then evaluate your meeting immediately after, because you want it to be fresh. And these meetings might go really fast and you might walk out of there like, wait, what just happened? So it's really important that you evaluate immediately so you get all the information that you can. I'm going to pass it over to Jocelyn now to talk a little bit more about what's going to happen inside of those meetings.
Thanks, Greer. Hello, everyone. So when you're preparing for a legislative meeting, I think I have 3 pieces of advice. They're research, research, and research. You need to know what you're walking into. You don't want to walk into a bear trap and not know it. Even if it's going to be the best meeting in the world, it would be good if you know that heading in. So research is really key, and you don't have to spend weeks and weeks. You can generally find a good bit out about legislators with some, light Google searches. The legislature website is also a great resource. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Every legislator, both in the House and the Senate, they have bios listed there, and I have a rule of thumb that if you see something in their bio, you can bring it up to them, right? It's not a state secret, it's out there in public. And if they're going to put it on the website in their bio, they probably want people to talk to them about it. So some things to look out for, where did they go to school? Where are they an alumna? Did you go to that same school? Do you know someone who did? Are they from the same community as you? What's their faith background? What are the extracurriculars? What's in their history? Are they a former school teacher? Were they on the Board of Education, county council, a prosecutor, or alternatively, a public defender, a defense attorney? These are going to be tells so that when you're walking into that meeting, you have a better sense of who that person is. They are an elected official, but they also have a history and a background. I mean, even if they're a career politician, they likely moved their way up the channels through different community positions. So you want to know that. Do you have a personal or a work connection to them? If there's any way for you to connect the dots, you want to be taking notes on that so you can bring it up in the meeting organically. Additionally, if you're a constituent, you always, always, always want to say that. If you're a former constituent, you moved out of the district, you can mention that as well. Bring it back to the tie to the community and where that person is working from and the constituents that they are representing. Once you have that information, it will help you make the clear statement about your support for whatever bill you're going in there to lobby on, whatever you want to talk to them about. You want to figure out what you know about them, connect it to the issue, connect it to yourself, and really just hammer home the self-interest. And you will see a couple different examples of how we do that in the role play in just a couple minutes. But once you connect the dots, you're essentially teeing it up, whether you want like a baseball reference or a golf mini putt reference here, you're setting the stage, you're teeing it up so that, this person knows who you are, why they're there, why you are meeting with them and not somebody else, what you want to talk to them about. And organically, there will become that shining moment where you can, fly right in and make the ask. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that. As someone who has worked on these issues in the past, we're here to ask you X, Y, Z. As someone who cares deeply about criminal justice across the state, who worked on this bill, in the last OGA, we're here to talk to you about this bill right now and ask you to support it. So you have lots of different ways that you can weave it all together and connect those dots. So again, it's all about knowing who you're meeting with, connecting those dots, and then staying strong and making the ask. So we're going to pivot a little bit now to talk about when you're in that meeting, what to expect. The biggest piece of advice I can give on what to expect in the meeting is just to be flexible. Preparation is key, right? All of this preparation is great. Having the agenda is great. And you want that kind of as guardrails because things may not go in the moment as they were during your prep meeting or the way, most of your meetings in the past have gone. You might think you have a meeting with a legislator and it ends up being the legislative aide because maybe committee schedules got moved around or session got extended for whatever reason, the legislator can't be there. And so now you're not talking to that person who you have all the research and background and intel on. You're meeting with their legislative aide, who is also a very powerful person, and can help get that information back to the legislator for you. It's a different kind of meeting though. The legislator might run late. You might be scheduled for a 30-minute meeting that turns into a 15-minute meeting, or maybe a 10-minute meeting. You might think you have an in-office meeting that quickly gets, routed to a quick call or something. Greer and I took a meeting together with a couple folks about a month ago, and we met with a legislator who literally was on Zoom on FaceTime with us while walking to and from different buildings, just squeezing us in between other things that he had on his plate that day. So really, it's all happened. I'm sure Gary has lots of war stories he can put in the chat for us, but just be flexible. Additionally, not all legislators are created equal, and I really mean that. The demeanor of one legislator is not going to match the demeanor of another. We have 132 very different human beings that we can interact with in the Ohio General Assembly, right? They run the gambit. They're also just people, right? They're people just like us, and they have good days, they have bad days. Some days they're tired, they're checked in, they're checked out. They are human beings. And so it's always good to have a little grace when going into these meetings as well. So with that, I'd like to kick it back over to Greer to talk a little bit about the reactions legislators might have.
Yes, so they are human beings, and they are also power people. And so we know from experience dealing with power people that there are some things that we can expect from them. And if you're in Southwest Ohio or Northeast Ohio, you've probably heard me talk about the 7 Ds before, and that's what I'm going to review really quickly. So these are kind of the common responses that we can expect from any type of public official or person in a power position. So this might help you on many issues that you work on. And the reason it's helpful to think about these in advance is it helps you anticipate what they might say and how you'll reply in the moment. And I really recommend role playing, especially the things that you think are most likely to happen. So the first D is deflect. So that might be, oh, we actually need to talk about this bill having to do with whether people can wear religious garb while they're playing sports. That's actually the most important thing today. So they might try to take you completely off track to a different bill. Delay might be, well, that's not something we can get to right now. We have to get through X, Y, and Z first. Deny, that's not an issue. I've heard that plenty of times. There's actually nothing wrong with the fact that 2/3 of the people in jail in Ohio are legally innocent. Deceive, they sometimes will flat out lie and tell you things that aren't true. So you have to be clear in your own facts heading into those meetings. Divide, so this is when they might try to kind of spread your group apart from each other, say, oh, Jocelyn, I remember you. We went to high school together. What are you doing hanging out with these yahoos? They don't know what they're doing. And then discredit and destroy. So this actually, the ACLU gets this a lot because we tackle controversial issues. So they may say that organization doesn't know what they're doing. They've lost their way. They're not defending the right values anymore. And so all those, especially those last 2 points, are really important, that you're a solid group before you go into this meeting and you have your plan clear and you have your spokesperson clear, and you have a group have said, spokesperson, we're going to be behind you 100% no matter what happens. It's important that, our power comes from the fact that we are organized people together. And so we have to stay organized people together and make sure we really are a united group going into these meetings. And with that, I think we're ready to run into our role play. This is very exciting. We're going to see what an actual legislative meeting would look like. We have Colin playing our legislator, and Malikta is going to play our spokesperson. So she is you in this scenario. And then Jocelyn is going to be the legislative aide. I'm going to be hanging out as the evaluator. And we're going to do 3 separate role plays. Before we head into these, I just want to point out our evaluation questions, so you can be thinking about these as we go through the role play. So we're going to be evaluating, did the spokesperson use a power credential? Did the spokesperson engage their legislators' self-interest? Did the spokesperson land the ask? And did the spokesperson share a compelling statement about why she supports the bill?